Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, there's, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for? Another 2 to 3 years? He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Tom. It's like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
You are a Pirates fan. I don't think you've got a reason good enough for me to be wearing Met stuff when the Mets are playing the Pirates right now. I don't think I'm gonna go, okay, I see it at the end of your explanation.
I'm gonna put it on Vinny. I'm gonna put it on all the Mets fans. The Pirates won 2 in a row. Fired the manager over the weekend. A new era of Pirates baseball has begun.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The WNBA lean into the Caitlin Clark-Angel Reese rivalry in a positive way. Plus, where are Giannis and Kevin Durant playing next season? NBA insider Chris Haynes joins us to share updates. Hello and welcome into Front Office Sports Today from our FOS studios in New York City. I'm Renee Washington.
And I'm Becky Machado. Thanks so much for joining us. Of course, every weekday, Renee and I chat the biggest stories that are happening in the business and culture of sports. We got a big show ahead, but first, let's dive right into the shoot-around.
Yes, well, as of right now, during this conversation, sources have indicated that a ruling allowing NFL players to participate in flag football at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympics is expected to pass at the league meetings that are happening in Minneapolis today. Now, we know 24 of 32 teams have to approve it, and then the NFL will have to negotiate with the Players Association on like what this means, how many players per team can play, and of course, we're still awaiting at this moment on the rulings of other things, such as the Packers' proposed changes for the tush push, as well as the Lions' hope to have a reseeding for the playoffs.
Yeah, so let's go through the flag football thing really quickly. As you mentioned, it is expected to pass. The ESPN report that's out there says it's likely going to have any player under NFL contract would be able to participate in the tryouts, but one player per NFL team would be on each national team. That is the limit there. There's also going to be some parts about insurance. If somebody gets injured, how does that sort of help the teams out in terms of base pay being compensated? And the thing I think is really interesting in here is to make sure that it doesn't conflict with any prior NFL engagements. As you mentioned, this is going to be happening in the summer, so that's not going to interfere with minicamp or any of that other stuff. But down the road, that could be an issue if all of a sudden flag football leagues start popping up. Then all of a sudden the players probably wouldn't be involved in that. But either way, this looks like this is going to be exciting for the Olympics.
Yeah, basically, if it gets approved, there's a lot of steps to make it actually happen by 2028. So, in NFL contract news, though, we've got the San Francisco 49ers who locked in all-pro linebacker Fred Warner to a new 3-year, $63 million extension, and this makes him the NFL's highest paid linebacker again. He's going to be making $21 million per season with $56 million in guaranteed money. Of course, this comes off the heels of Brock Purdy's deal, that 5-year deal that was actually the largest for the team in team history. And now they signed a 29-year-old in Fred Warner to add on to that original 5-year, $95 million extension he signed back in 2021 to lock him in. Another big move for them. Him, Kittle, Purdy, all the highest paid in their respective positions.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't forget George Kittle getting that big deal as well.
Yeah, so now over in Cleveland, Shedeur Sanders has a rookie contract and a jersey number.
Finally.
Number 12. He's no longer number 2. He also signed a 4-year, $4.6 million rookie deal, which might be exciting to some, but when you look at what he's been paid in the past, Baker, I don't know.
Yeah, especially from NIL money. I mean, just according to On3, he was making about $6.5 million in NIL money at Colorado, so a little bit less than that. But look, he's going to keep a lot of those brand partnerships that he had in college, deals with Nike, Beats by Dre, Gatorade. Also, he's, a big name in the rookie class. He'll likely get a lot of those deals as well. But to what we were probably going to get to is that him being a first-round pick and falling all the way down to where he's at is a lot of lost money. Cam Ward's projected to sign a $48 million, $32 million signing bonus with Tennessee. And then Jackson Dart with New York expected to receive about $17 million with a $9 million signing bonus. But what works in Shedeur's favor is the fact that he's going up against Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, and Kenny Pickett in the Browns locker room for that quarterback spot. So maybe he'll make that back up if he plays well and gets a new contract down the road for them.
Yes, Baker. Now, over in baseball, is the honeymoon phase over for Juan Soto and the Mets? Well, Mets manager Carlos Mendoza publicly called out Juan Soto's effort on the base paths this week, and now Yankees broadcaster Michael Kay is claiming that Juan Soto's been, quote, glum around the Mets clubhouse and went to return to the Yankees last offseason before signing that historic 15-year, $765 million contract. He's, of course, had a career worst in a number of areas, OBP as well as batting average. And I'm wondering, Baker, is he just homesick maybe? And he really wants to be a Yankee?
that is the rumor that Michael Kay says, that his family told him, because they like the Cohens, that he should sign with the Mets instead of the Yankees. But as you mentioned, he's batting .246, 8 home runs, 20 RBIs, all below his career average. But the Mets are 4th in baseball right now in terms of the winning percentage. So this is no worry. He's going to get this under control, and the Mets are just fine. The season's not even 2 months old
Well,
already.
the highest paid player in the league will be just fine. And let's shift over to the WNBA, because coming off the most watched opening weekend ever for the W, how can the league continue to grow the Angel Reese-Caitlin Clark rivalry, build their audience and viewership, and not fuel discrimination and misogynistic comments? We've got that coming up, then we'll take a look in our main event. And we now welcome in our FOS women's sports reporter, Annie Costable, to talk about this more, because Annie and Baker, this Fever Sky game was the most watched game ever for the WNBA on ESPN platforms at 2.7 million average viewers, a peak of 3.1 million viewers. But instead of talking about the exciting 35-point win and talking basketball, we're talking about the racist comments that were said at the game on Saturday. Annie, how has this evolved since that game Saturday, and what do we know as of now?
We know that the WNBA is investigating comments that were made towards Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky. And what's being circulated online is that this investigation stemmed from a rumor, an online rumor. And the reality is that a report was made about comments that players overheard at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. So that's important to clarify here, because this did not just stem from online commentary and an online rumor. There were actual things that were overheard at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. And I think the WNBA is doing exactly what it needs to do in order to protect players, which is of the utmost importance. That's priority number one. And in order to protect players, you have to do this investigation.
And does this hinder at all this building of the rivalry between these two teams who are about to face each other again in the next couple of weeks?
I think we have to start having more nuanced conversations. The WNBA has been at the forefront of human rights issues because this league was founded by women, by Black women, by queer women. So when you consider these factors, that's important when we're discussing all of these issues at hand. That can be true, as well as the discussion about the basketball at hand. And so when you're talking about this game, this rivalry in particular, there's exceptional basketball being played.
True.
But there's a nuanced conversation that needs to be had as well about the online discourse that's coming up every single time these two teams meet each other.
Yeah, and it is wild because we've talked so much about other rivalries. I mean, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson being the one I always go back to. But this one is different because of the history of the WNBA and the foundation of diversity that they've been able to create, but also just the social media era that we're in. As you're mentioning, that people can go, whether it's connecting with Angel and Caitlin specifically, or even just making these comments. How can the league find that balance? I feel like that's the tricky part. Building the rivalry, building the audience, but not continuing to fuel the fire of these really discriminatory comments.
From the ratings viewer, the viewers are there.
Exactly.
Right. I think it's as much on the league as it is on media members. Our job in the media is to report on the facts of the game. The facts of the game are the Fever are an exceptional team at this point. They're a championship contending team. The Sky are still figuring things out. That's a discussion to be had that's strictly about basketball. But then from there, the online discourse cannot be ignored. And the WNBA has begun an initiative to protect players, to look into that online discourse and stand against, again, hate, vitriol, racism, homophobia that players have been on the receiving end. Because that's the very harsh reality of the society we exist in today. There's so many people that have direct access to these players via social media. And these players are not making up the hate and the vitriol and the racism and homophobia that they're on the receiving end. And so in order for the WNBA to protect its players, again, this initiative was a top priority. From there, we need to also be having discussions about the competitive play at hand, how great of athletes all of these women are, because that's what so many of these athletes have fought so long for too, to be treated fairly, to be criticized fairly, to have their games be the center of the discussion. And at the root of this rivalry is good basketball. The only thing that'll make it better is if the Sky meet the Fever.
Yes.
And you can be a fan of one or the other without hating the other player. That's a clear And I like that Angel and Caitlin have both come out and have made various comments. As you mentioned, the WNBPA also has to continue to do more to help make sure that we're not doing or further perpetuating this negativity, but instead growing the game together in a positive way. Well, Amy, thank you for weighing in on that. We've got more NBA playoff talk coming up after this quick break on Front Office Sports Today. Stay tuned.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Chiefs Chargers in Brazil on Friday on YouTube. They're going to give everyone that game for free. They're so generous because the rest of the season they're going to fleece you for all your money.
That's one, Scott. That division to me, based on what's happened to the Chiefs the last couple seasons, that division, the AFC West, could be up for grabs here. I know Chiefs fans think I'm probably out of my mind.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series where they rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high, but the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And Welcome back into Front Office Sports today alongside Baker. I'm Renee, and I'm excited to welcome in a dear friend of mine, one of the hardest working guys in the industry, NBA insider Chris Haynes. Chris, welcome to the show. Congrats on being named the sideline reporter for the Big Three for their 8th season. Nice to have you here with us.
Well, Renee, Baker, thank you for having me on it. And I'm excited. Usually I have my summers to myself, just working free agency news and summer league. So I'm still going to do all of that, but I've attached another workload. So this is going to be exciting, something fun, something different. So yeah, I'm eager to get started.
Just a little more
busy. Right, just a little bit busier this summer.
Yeah.
But let's talk NBA right now, Chris, because we know that we saw earlier actually on your social media how you were breaking the news around Giannis Antetokounmpo having a meeting with the Bucks. That is expected to happen this week. And we've been hearing so much about Giannis and his future, where he's going to go, as he wants the championship contender team that's ready now. What is the latest on Giannis in terms of those teams that are seeming like the best fit? What do you know about what's in the works there with him?
Well, I think it's too early to start talking about other teams, but what I can say about other teams is that they are definitely monitoring the situation to see what unfolds this week. And like I reported, Giannis is expected to meet with the Bucks general manager, John Horst, later this week, mid this week is what I was told. And this is going to be the first time that Giannis has a chance to hear what the organization's plans are for the future. Giannis has made it very clear that he wants to compete for titles, specifically during his prime years. He has 2 years remaining on his contract before he can be an unrestricted free agent. So he wants to hear what's going on. The Bucks have Brook Lopez, who's going to be a free agent, who is a big piece of their team. Bobby Portis has a player option for next season. So, we've got to see what's going to happen with that situation. And so Giannis just basically wants some answers. And then Damian Lillard, he's out for about a year with that Achilles tear that was unfortunately happened during the playoffs in the first round. So Giannis basically wants answers, and he wants to know what is the direction. And then from there, depending on what is said, Giannis has a decision to make.
Well, you mentioned Dame Lillard. I mean, let's just say hypothetically, Giannis is traded. I mean, we know Dame Lillard's going to be out for an extended period next year, but do you almost feel like then he's going to want to get out of Milwaukee too if Giannis isn't even there?
Well, the situation with Dame, he has 2 years remaining on his contract. He has next season, and then after that, it's a player option. So being that Dame's situation is going to be a little bit more trickier, because I don't know that there's going to be a lot of people that's lined up to try to get Dame, especially if he's out for a full season. So it's going to be a little bit tough depending on what happens with Giannis. But again, the whole league is on Giannis and what he wants to do, because he wants to contend for championships. That's the thing. It's not about him being a part of a super team. He wants to have a team that has a legitimate shot to win. And so the Bucks have to make their case that, if they can't put that team together going into this next season based off of, the players and their situations, what I laid out earlier, then they have to explain to him, okay, but the year after, maybe we can do something. So again, all this is hypothetical. It's all dependent on the direction of the Bucks and where they want to take the franchise moving forward.
It is crazy. We're in the midst of the NBA playoffs, and we're already talking about roster moves that'll be happening this offseason. Kevin Durant is another name that's already been circulating, the two-time NBA champion. He doesn't have a no-trade clause in his deal. He also is expected to make around $54.7 million next season, and has been linked to some teams. A return to Golden State, the Heat, the Sixers even got thrown in there, the Timberwolves. So the names are circling right now. But what do you know about Kevin Durant and the likelihood that he is going to be moving on from Phoenix versus staying and working out a different deal with the Suns?
Yeah, good question. So what the Phoenix Suns are doing right now, obviously I reported yesterday over the weekend about how they narrowed their candidates down to the Elite Eight. And so what the Suns want to do, they want to see who they hire as the next head coach. And then after they make that hire, they're going to see, okay, is this somebody that can work with Kevin Durant? Because you've seen it over the last few years with the Suns head coaches, when you talk about Frank Vogel and Mike Budenholzer, those are particularly guys that didn't get along with the star players. And so that's going to be key for the next head coach. But if this is a young coach, right, if this is a young coach and the organization feels that, this coach probably is better suited to deal with guys on the younger side, then that's when I can see them moving from KD. So KD right now, I would say his situation is on the back burner until they figure out who's going to be the next head coach of the Phoenix Suns.
Let's talk about my Denver Nuggets, obviously losing Game 7 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. A lot of questions on if David Adelman stays as the head coach, and then who they hire to replace Calvin Booth in the front office. The big question then is, has the window for the Nuggets closed for a potential championship based on where their roster's at heading into the offseason?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say I believe the Denver Nuggets are going to make some moves in the offseason. I don't know that their window is shut, but they definitely have to tinker with their core. I think this was the season, and I think that's why changes were made prior to the playoffs starting, because ownership understood that there was a change that needed to be made. Well, that first change was the front office and removing Calvin Booth and removing the head coach in Mike Malone. So with that being said, I expect there to be some changes over the summer from the player personnel. Now, they know Joker. Joker is very similar to a bunch of other stars that I know personally in the league who are guys who want to win and they don't want to waste their prime. And I understand that people think, Nikola Jokic, he's a guy who's nonchalant, carefree. He is those things, but he wants to win first and foremost. And the organization felt the frustration from the Joker this season, and that's why they wouldn't made those moves and let go of Mike Malone and Calvin Booth. So with that being said, I do expect there to be some changes. I don't know about wholesale changes because I still think they have a pretty good, decent tandem there with Jamal Murray and Joker. Michael Porter Jr. has been someone who over the last few years his names have been into trade talks. I heard this past season there was a trade dialogue between the New Orleans Pelicans and the Denver Nuggets for who was that? It was Brandon Ingram at the time, who is now a member of the Toronto Raptors. So there is that dialogue going on. So it'll be interesting to see what the market value is for Michael Porter Jr. this summer. But I definitely expect there to be some changes.
Yeah, especially when teams fall short of the championship or at least a deep run in the playoffs. It's time to start reevaluating your roster. Well, Chris, thank you so much for taking time to join us on the show. We appreciate you. And we've got more coming up on the other side of this break here on FOS Today. Stay tuned.
Vegas knows how to show love to our everyday heroes. So if you're a first responder, you are in for some perks. Lots of hotels and casino offer big discounts to any first responders who can show valid work or volunteer ID. So treat yourself to a discounted stay. You deserve it. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
If you believe he should be in the Hall of Fame, let's let him wait another 2 years. Wait, he's already dead at this point. Like, what are you waiting for? Another 2 to 3 years. He's either in or he's out. And sometimes you look at that too, Tom, it's like you can't tell, the history of Major League Baseball without Pete Rose.
Frankly, the writers have some standard that they want to hold players to, which seems to fluctuate on a player-to-player basis. So he should be in the Hall of Fame, but I'm not sure how quickly he'll get there.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I actually like the fact that they went 7 games against a quality opponent here and still had to face adversity even in a game number 7. How are we setting up this next series with a rested Minnesota Timberwolves team taking on OKC fresh from the fight here?
They had an extremely, maybe it's just too strong a statement to say, easier pathway than people thought, particularly because of their size.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Front Office Sports Today. Baker, Renee here. And with NBA Conference Finals tipping off starting tonight with the Thunder Timberwolves, 4 NBA teams are left competing for the Larry O'Brien Trophy, and it's a new era in the NBA, Baker. None of these teams have won a championship in the modern era. Knicks, 2 titles. The last was in 1973. No finals appearances since 99. Pacers also haven't been in the finals in the last 25 years, going back to 2000.
Wow.
0 titles. They have 2 in the ABA, none in the NBA. And then the Thunder, last time they won, they were the Supersonics in 79. They've got 4 finals appearances. And the Timberwolves, 0s for them as well. No championships, no finals appearances ever. A new era, it feels like.
So this is the 7th consecutive year we're going to have a new champion, which I guess is good for those who say this is good for league parity. No super teams. Yeah. The last time the Thunder actually made the NBA Finals, they had that trio of James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Kevin Durant on that team. So obviously a lot has changed. I'm more obsessed, though, with the ticket prices for these things. I mean, to think that we knew New York was going to be expensive for the Eastern Conference Finals because we haven't had it here in 25 years. But our friends over at TickPick are saying the average Game 1 ticket price for the Pacers and the Knicks, especially because this is a big rivalry from the 90s, $2,100. That is the average price. That is not even courtside sitting next to Chalamet and Ben Stiller. That is just getting a ticket. Same ticket, though, at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City is $600. So you see the difference between the two.
Huge gap. Yeah. And honestly, you would think with the Oklahoma City Thunder as the #1 seed that would draw even higher tickets. But I think it's a big part of the fact, including this year, 11 of the last 16 seasons, the NBA Finals have been Steph Curry, LeBron James, or both.
Right.
We're getting a whole new era, as you mentioned, 7 consecutive seasons that it's been a different team winning. And that's kind of the change. There's no true dynasty favorite. And the ticket prices, at least in New York, are really a good testament of fans that are excited to see their team get a championship.
Yeah,
finally.
And I think, and we've talked about this before. Like, who does the NBA want in this finals?
Right.
I think obviously the New York market is huge, and the fact that everybody in New York is obsessed with the Knicks helps. And I also think the storyline of Karl Anthony Towns versus Jalen Brunson and all of those Villanova guys going up against each other, in a finals of Minnesota, New York would be really interesting. But you got to think, though, if with the Thunder being so young, this would be a great matchup for them as well in terms of the future of the league versus one of the biggest markets.
Well, you talk about that Cat-Brunson duo for New York up against Julius Randle and the Timberwolves. That was a big trade that we saw, of course, with Randle and with Cat.
And DiVincenzo and all of that.
That's 3 combined NBA titles between the 4 teams that are competing. And when you look at last year, those 4 teams had 18 total. 2023, there were 37 titles, and 2022, there were 28 titles between the teams. So a little less this year with just 3 total titles.
But also just in terms of the star power here. I mean, you have Shea, Brunson, Ant-Man, Halliburton. I mean, these are all future, if not current, superstars and faces of the league. And I think the league has to be happy that they're at least going to be getting one of these guys becoming an NBA champion.
And I think that's what makes this playoff series so exciting for both the Western and Eastern Conference Finals. New faces and new places trying to bring some hardware back to the team. And one of those new faces is also over in WWE. So let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. It's an NBA WWE crossover. Man. We all remember the moment last year when Jalen Brunson, after the Knicks got eliminated by the Pacers, was facing off against Tyrese Halliburton. They didn't actually fight, but we've got Logan Paul there, and you see them kind of jawing, going at it. And it was a great moment for basketball, for wrestling like that crossover. You look on your screen, and for those that are tuned in watching, it is that moment that Brunson and Halliburton came face to face. This is the growing rivalry, Baker, that we talk about between these two.
Now you turn NBA matches into WWE promotional things. I mean, yes, you're right. They didn't go into a fight. Brunson just grabbed a chair like he was going to fight Halliburton. But now you have that other video of that Pacers fan in New York wearing the Halliburton jersey going viral, of all the Knicks fans throwing trash at him. He got invited to the game by Halliburton.
Amazing.
On Pat McAfee's show. And then you have Ben Stiller coming out saying, we should never treat Pacers fans like this, but I still think the Knicks are going to win in 6. There's just so much about this.
To add a little more razzle-dazzle on top of it, Tyrese Halliburton's actually been announced as a playable character character in the Dunks and Destruction package. Fans have to pay for that package. He will be in WWE 2K25. And NBA fans are a little upset because they're saying, wait, why does he look better in the WWE game than the NBA game? But wrestling fans are upset because he's one of potentially up to 3 NBA players that are supposed to be in this package. And they don't want non-wrestlers in the game. So you're also getting NBA and WWE fans that are not happy with the announcement that Pacers Tyrese Halliburton, not underrated or overrated, excuse me, is going to be in WWE 2K25.
I also think lost in all of this is the fact that Reggie Miller is calling the game for TNT, and he has shredded the Knicks. And then there's also just the rivalry dating back to the Knicks and the Pacers from the 90s. So this is a great time to be a basketball fan to watch all of this.
And also we've got exciting news to look forward to around the NFL's league meetings and the results, what gets approved and what does not. We'll be talking about that tomorrow on the show. And thank you guys so much for tuning in to Front Office Sports today. As always, we appreciate you, and we will see you guys next time.
Nope, tush push, maybe.